Facebook people, have we got another great treat for you today. Today on Comic Spot, we have Lou Perez. Lou Perez in Brooklyn today. He's a Brooklyn native, right?
Yeah, for the past 10 or so years, with a small gap spent in Los Angeles.
Cool, man. And we're going to get to that in a minute. Let me finish with the introduction he sent me. These are not my words. I don't want to be, known for stealing other people's material. I'm reading you what he wrote. Lou Perez, he's speaking of himself in the first person, is a comedian and the head writer and producer of We the Internet TV. How cool is that, you guys? You can follow him at the Lou Perez on social media. I'm proud of winning. He is proud of winning a Webby Award. Oh my God, a Webby Award. Holy Toledo. And with We the Internet TV, my work with comedy duo Greg and Lou, and he's also proud of compliments from people he grew up watching. Oh, we got to get to know Lou Perez. Lou, hi.
Hey, I want to get to know that guy. I made myself sound so interesting. So yeah, let's get to the bottom of what makes this guy tick.
Yes, I want to know, where did you come from originally, and when was the first sign you were funny to yourself, to others? I want to hear that.
Yeah, so I'm from New York originally, born in Queens, New York, Woodside, and I think the first time that I can remember doing something funny is when you're a young kid. You always try to impress older boys, because if you can get in with the older boys, and that gives you automatic cool cred. And I'm 38 years old, so growing up, we got to watch really dirty comedians, So we had HBO. I'm not going to say whether or not the cable box was legal or not, but but as a very young, impressionable kid, I got to watch, Andrew Dice Clay, George Carlin, Eddie Murphy, and all that. And something that my brothers and I used to do is we used to basically parrot Andrew Dice Clay's jokes, his one-liners, his hickory dickory dock and such. So, when you see like this little child speaking like Andrew Dice Clay with terrible, just saying these horrific things, there's something entertaining for that, especially for an older, if you're an older kid. So I remember my brothers used to do a really good job mimicking Andrew Dice Clay. And I remember one day just sort of improvising and coming up with what I thought sounded like dirty jokes to try to entertain the older boys. And I don't know how old I was, but comedy and laughter and goofing around has always been a part of me and my family growing up. And it's something I've been able to eke out a career with.
Yes.
Into my 30s.
Oh, I'll say. So when was the very first time you dared to get up on a stage and take the big dive into making people laugh?
Yeah, well, I think I started comedy from like an improv comedy standpoint. Like that's where I started. I started with improv. So at first with improv, it was a small group at my college. So we'd do improv, goof around in a room, and then I guess the first time that I performed improv comedy would be at a college show or something like that. So I sort of went from improv comedy to sketch comedy, and then after having a bunch of years of performance experience under my belt, I finally got the nerve to get up and try stand-up comedy at it was an open mic called Gut Bucket at the UCB Theater, and it was actually hosted by Pete Holmes, Pete Holmes is a fantastic comedian, and I got to actually I was in an improv class with Pete. He's a really kind guy, super positive, and so the first time that I got up and I tried stand-up comedy, it was at his show at Gut Bucket, and other comedians like Matt McCarthy was there. Kumail was another comedian. Mike Lawrence was there. I actually remember one of my jokes I did had to do with wrestling. It was something like calling, it was an observational humor about professional wrestling and saying there's always that time in wrestling where one of the guys pulls out a foreign object, and it's like something like a toaster. And I think part of the joke was calling out like, how can it be a foreign object? Everyone knows what that is. That's a toaster. It's a chair. And Mike Lawrence, he's a big wrestling fan, and he gave me like he gave me props for, I guess, doing a joke about wrestling. So that was the first time that I ever did stand up. I have to say the set ended better than it started. I was so nervous that at the beginning of the set that I actually had the microphone and I had the wire from the mic that I was wrapping it around my arms, like out of complete nervousness, to the point where at some point the mic went out, and I thought that they had like cut my mic or something like that. It turns out I had sabotaged my own thing in my nervousness. And then after that, we started doing more open mics and the occasional show I'd get booked on, and that's where I was about 10 years ago, probably a little more.
Okay, so tell me the trajectory that took you from being on a show here and there, the mic, to shows, to where you are now. What transpired? What's your steps to success?
Whoa, my steps to success.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that I always that we always were doing. I have my comedy duo, Greg and Lou. When you asked to provide, 3 things that I'm proud of.
Yes.
Number 2 is my longtime comedy partnership with Greg Burke. That's number 2, the thing that I'm proud of. We started performing together in college and making videos and all that. And something that we found was, if you're just going out on auditions, right, your fate is left in the hands of others, right? So if you want to make sure that you're putting stuff out there, that you're getting out there, you got to write your own material. So that's what we did. A lot of character stuff, a lot of heightened relationship stuff between me and Greg. And we started basically performing together at NYU, and then moved to the UCB Theater, where we were able to experiment and do all this stuff. So about 5 years ago, I was in Los Angeles at a friend's event that had something to do with film distribution, and there was basically like a talent scout who was looking for writers and collaborators for this new project they were putting together called We the Internet TV, and it was something they wanted to do, comedy about politics and culture. And I said, well, I'm not really that political, but at the time I'd been doing sketch comedy for about 13 years. And it's one of those things where, an opportunity will come your way and you're almost like, oh, I'm ready for it, just because I've just been doing what I have to do up until that point. So I started out as a freelancer for them, produced, I think, around 5 videos as a freelancer. Then worked my way up to head writer, and then after head writer, producer, and now people often recognize my mug as being sort of, not, if not the face, one of the most recognized faces at We the Internet TV. So I think my it's taken a while to get to where I am. One thing I would recommend to anyone out there who's looking to make it is that just make sure you never stop writing, you never stop producing, because you never know when the opportunity will be there, and if in other aspects, if someone's doing stand-up comedy, like you might get an opportunity to do 30 minutes at a show, at a benefit or something like that. So you should make sure you have 30 minutes. You should make sure you have more than 30 minutes. Work your way up. So when the opportunity is there, you're able to kill it.
That's good advice. Yeah. Somebody here in Vegas said, do you have 15 minutes of material that you can show me in front of an audience? Because I need an opener. And it was at a pretty big club. and I couldn't find an open mic that would let me get up that long.
Mhm.
So yeah, I really understand what you're saying about being ready.
Yeah, and that could be tough, and that could be tough too, with, if you're doing like open mics where, maybe the longest they give you is 5 minutes. So it's like, ooh, I need 15. So now I got to cobble together these 5 minute pieces. And also, the it's so funny just how the difference time could make, like how long your set is by how you perform even the same material. If you have, this short window of opportunity to, connect with the crowd, you only have 5 minutes. Okay, there's going to be something with the pacing that you do. Whereas if you have 15, maybe you're able to slow down in between bits a little bit, or maybe you're able to riff a little bit more and all that. And
And
it's
do a few act outs.
right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So, what do you think about all the people that are coming into comedy everywhere? There's so many, and there's only so many clubs or opportunities. What do you think about, like, what do you think of the comedy scene as of late?
Um, Well, I think I'm, it seems like the sort of the modern comedian needs to have like they can't have all their eggs in one basket, that very rarely, I think now do you see somebody who just does stand-up comedy, especially if they're just coming up, it's like they just do stand-up comedy. And, with, COVID-19, that's definitely thrown a wrench in a lot of people's plans to just get stage time, forget about, even if you are just, um, if you're trying to work your way up, getting the stage time is definitely tough right now. I think, overall, it's really a great time to be a comedian, to be doing comedy, because you do have all these different avenues that, where you can make money doing it. It's kind of, cliche that everybody has a podcast, but there's a reason why. It's
Exactly.
that seems to be an avenue that a lot of comedians can take that's going to work for them. So, I think it's one of those things. I don't know much about the stock market, but I always hear, diversify. And it's like, oh well, maybe in comedy that's something that you have to do. And I don't know what things are going to look like in 6 months. I don't know what clubs are going to look like. So you want to be able to be flexible and adapt.
Yeah. I'm not much of a sketch writer or, a writer for things like that you do, but I think it's probably a good idea to try to find out who's filming and see if you can get on those things.
Oh,
I'm
totally.
not much
Yeah.
of a writer. I'm lucky to write jokes and create my own set, and help other people with their jokes.
Mhm. Oh no, I
So
think I think collaboration is something that you definitely have to do, and also develop your own skill set too. There are great comedians. My friend Ryan Long is a comedian out of Canada. He's in New York now. Not only is he hilarious stand-up comedian, but he's a great editor, and he makes his own stuff and has great videos. So the more skip it's there's never a shortage for people who are really good at what they do, and the more skills that you have, the better it is for you. I'm actually that's kind of a note to self. I haven't edited something in a very long time, so I should probably take my own advice and get back into editing, even though there are some things that are more enjoyable than others. So I'd much rather be behind the camera or in front of it than in an editing bay.
whenever something is difficult for me, I make it a priority to try to tackle that first, whatever's most difficult. And one of the things I'm going to try to do this in the next 6 months is to learn how to write a sketch,
Mhm.
and I don't even know what it entails, but I get what you're saying, because like right now I'm a two-trick pony. I'm a comedian in training, and because I'm pretty new at it, and then doing this, interviewing people. This is a strong. I've been doing this since I was in high school, asking people questions and getting to know them. So this is just natural. This
Well,
isn't
that's great.
difficult.
Well, I think as far as dipping your toe into sketch comedy, I would just look at it as writing scenes. If they're obviously you're a stand-up comic, so you're able to see the funny in the world, and there are experiences that happen to you that you're able to take and work into a bit, and as an exercise, take those experiences and say like, hey, what if I wrote this as a scene, as a two-person conversation, and see where it can go.
Cool. Yeah, I watched some people that put out sketch comedy, and I think sketch comedy really interests me. I'm sure it does a lot of comics that haven't tried it yet.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and you look at people like Louis C.K. With the writing that he's done outside of just stand up, the stuff Bill Burr is doing with F is for Family, and it's not necessarily all sketch comedy, but I think there are elements of it. It's being able to move beyond just one-liners or move beyond just a funny story to tell.
yes, there's a person here in Vegas named Rick DeAlia, not Chris, but Rick DeAlia. And he's been taking his family every day and giving them a sketch. And it's so well written, hilarious. And the children have their own little personas, you know, and the wife, it's good. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets picked up for a sitcom. It's
That's
so well
yeah.
done.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea, and also something to do while you're, locked in quarantine, right? It's like put your family to work. Let's
Yeah.
let's bank on this.
So let's go back to you and We the Internet TV, because I'd like to really plug it. What kinds of things do you like really get excited about doing at We the Internet TV? What's your favorite thing you've done there?
Yeah, so we
Project.
do. Yeah, so you guys can check us out on YouTube, on Facebook, We the Internet TV. If you're watching this on Facebook, you could see that right now. My favorite stuff to do at We the Internet is definitely sketch. I do comedic monologues, and we've ventured into animation and that sort of thing, especially with production being on hold for a little while. But I love doing sketch comedy with high production value. And just because it's high production value doesn't mean it has to be expensive. High production value meaning it looks good, multiple locations, multiple characters. I really like when I'm able to write something or collaborate with another writer and give it to other actors to work with and find let them find the interesting stuff in it and find new stuff. And it feels really good when you write something and you watch somebody perform it and you're like, you forget that you wrote it, that you're just enjoying it. So one sketch that it was actually the first one we ever released on We the Internet is called The Problem with Trigger Warnings. And that's available now. And that's something that I wrote. I wasn't even that big a fan of the script. But fortunately I had my partner, Greg, who ended up directing it, really liked the script. And then we shot it, and the whole process was just phenomenal, watching the actors work and just do their and do their thing.
What's the premise behind
So,
that?
the problem with trigger warnings, it's
Yes.
first day of English class at a college university, and the teacher is trying to explain what trigger warnings are to the students, and it, it goes awry, if we will.
Oh, I
But
can't wait. I'm gonna
no spoilers. So
no spoilers. I want to get out and find that. So the pandemic hit. You're in Brooklyn. You've been shut down. Question, without going political, have you been personally affected with people in your friend and family circle who have had the virus?
I have a good friend of mine. He lost his mother. She passed away. It was very, very sad. We were able to attend a Zoom memorial service for her a few weeks ago. My family has a butcher shop, and unfortunately, one of the longtime workers there named Domingo. He passed away from it. So I haven't experienced it directly, fortunately, but I do know people who have lost others. The biggest, I think the biggest, impact that COVID has had is the fact that if you could read my shirt, it says
I was going to get to your shirt.
World's Greatest Dad. So my wife and I, we decided to have a baby on March 26th, smack dab in the middle of this thing.
How did that go?
I know. Yeah. Well, leading up to the birth of our son, we weren't sure if I was going to be allowed to be in the delivery room, which was, a really scary thought to have. I went to every single doctor's appointment with my wife, every single sonogram, I was there the whole way, and I was, preparing to be there. And we started hearing about all these hospitals in New York that weren't allowing partners to be in the delivery room. And actually, a friend of my wife, this poor woman, her husband wasn't allowed to be there. She ended up having to have an emergency C-section without him there. And she was in, I think, the hospital for like close to a week or something like that.
Wow.
But fortunately, we gave birth at Lenox Hill Hospital, which they were part of the Northwell, I think, hospital group, and they allowed partners to be there. So I was there. I was there in the delivery room. I was manning my wife's right leg. I was watching, seeing the whole thing. It was wild. It was a trip. I was so happy that I was able to be there. And
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
How's your boy doing? What's his first name?
His name is Andreas.
That's
Andreas. Yeah, Andreas Luis. He's doing great. Today he actually turned 3 months. So today is his 3-month birthday. Yeah, he's great. He's totally adorable. And I've never liked kids. Not that I've ever liked kids, but there are people who have like a natural, affinity for children and just need to hold babies and all that. And I never had that. I'd never had that before. But as over the past few years, I would smile a lot more at babies and stuff. But now, since he's been born, I can't get enough. I just want to squeeze him, and it's the most adorable thing. So I have new hormones that are firing off in my body, and every time I get to see this little bundle of joy. So I've become a dad, and like I said,
you're the world's greatest dad.
It's official. 3 months in, already the world's greatest. It's wild.
Wow, I was the most fantastic single mother until I got hit by a drunk driver in '96.
Oh my God.
And then my daughter had to take care of me. And so now our relationship's on hold, and that's why I started comedy. Isn't that hilarious?
Oh my goodness. Wow.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So someday maybe we'll be back in contact. Don't ever be your child's best friend. That's my advice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that sounds like a story with a lot of depth, a lot of stuff going on there. That's pretty. That might be something that, hey, you're looking to do sketches and stuff. That might be a sketch there. I don't know, maybe a longer work there.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'll write that down. So where do you plan on having your entire career take you after this pandemic? What's a great marker that'll tell you you're getting to the next level, or when will you know that you personally, Lou Perez, have arrived? When you accomplish what?
Yeah, I think in addition to the sketches and stuff with We the Internet, we also produce short documentaries, mini documentaries, and I've produced 2 of them. Anytime you do a longer work, there's a much greater sense of accomplishment there. So I'd like to continue to pursue that in in the documentary field, as well as the feature length movie field. It would be wonderful to produce a movie. That'd be great.
How did it feel getting a Webby Award?
Oh, it was such a big surprise. It was a little surreal. And then like going and attending the event and, being, we're Cipriani's, I think it was, like this really just glamorous, sort of setting. And, just being among that crowd was a trip. And now I get to, yeah, I will always be a Webby Award winning personality, if you will. I remember on Twitter, I was kind of like trolling this producer because of something stupid he had written. So then of course I responded with something stupid myself, and one of his fans had pointed out like, oh wow, you really care what this guy is. It says, he won a Webby, and it's like, well, yeah. I mean, do you know how bad I would feel if I wasn't a Webby Award winner having this same exchange? At least I got that going for me. Let me have that. The guy was like, yeah, touche. That makes it. I can't just be I could be a loser with a few wins. I think that's good rather than just a, straight up loser.
Isn't it crazy how people are just arguing over everything? I mean, I swear they're arguing over the color of the toothpicks, You can't say anything and people get in a big old fight. It's like road rage on the internet.
It's it's never been easier to to argue about both unimportant stuff and important stuff. And I think it's tough too where because what you're reading is text, the way that it's tough to read the intention behind it sometimes. So, anything could sound like a dig against you and you can take that like personally, and then, you don't have to wait to strike back, so it's sort of like a vicious cycle there, but it can be really fun if you use it well. So.
Yeah, I was doing these interviews at the start by having Zoom on my laptop and then using my iPhone to bootleg my own stuff to get it onto the Facebook. And I had invited somebody who was an actor in a lot of sitcoms to come on. He said, not with that crazy equipment you're using. If you're not professional, I'm not coming on. And I wanted to respond right away. Boy, did I want to respond right away. And then I thought about it for like a week and I thought, you know what? It's time for me to step up my game. So I got a new computer and the right equipment here and lighting, and I got him on last week. And it was awesome. And he was like, yeah, I'll come on. You didn't get offended. Everybody gets offended when I just tell them what I see. And and I was like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I see Sinbad behind you. Have you had Sinbad on the show?
I did. Isn't that cool?
That's cool. Yeah. I remember really enjoying Sinbad when I was younger, watching his stand-up specials. His pants were always amazing. Like next level, multicolored, like chaps that were made out of like the same material as parachutes. He was great. He had this one joke talking about trying to sneak home at night when you're a kid, like when you've been out too long, you're trying to get in after curfew. And he said, even the sidewalk creaks. And I thought it was such a brilliant way to put it.
He's just like that in real, in the interview. The same way he's on stage was the same way he was talking. It's just how his mind clicks.
Yeah.
It's not a put on at all. So I had talked to him in 2003 on Twitter when everybody was new to it. Celebs were talking to nobodies, and that was before I was even trying comedy. And I'd come up with a joke and I'd send it to him. And so when I started doing these interviews during COVID, I wrote him and I said, do you remember me back on Twitter? And he goes, yes. And I go, okay, would you mind coming on and let me interview you? And he said, let's make it happen. It was like 3 months later. And he told me I had gone from asking for 15 minutes to, okay, and a week would go by. Okay, how about 12? How about 10? I was like, I'm Jewish, and I was Jewing the time down to get a yes. And I got down to 2 minutes. Oh, come on, Sinbad, 2 minutes. And he got
Mhm.
on and gave me 41 minutes.
That's awesome. Yeah, he's always come across as a really likable guy, like his persona. And actually, just going back to the first time that I did stand up comedy, and Pete Holmes was hosting. I think I remember having asked him advice, and I think he said something along the lines of like, if you're having fun up there, the audience will see that you're having fun, and they'll have fun, something like that. And I think when you watch Pete Holmes do stand up, it's very much that he's really enjoying himself, and he's giving off that that same energy. It's a little that you can't help but to go around. And it's amazing, just with all the bad that could be said about the sewer that is Twitter and social media. You get to make connections with people you've been fans of for years. You get to actually reach out and say something to somebody like Sinbad. You get to reach out and say something to professional athletes who are champions. I've had
Yeah.
I think I've had interactions with 3 professional MMA fighters. So
What?
over the but one of them was Daniel Cormier, who's I don't know if he's I don't know if he's a champion. I mean, he was a former heavyweight champ as well as light heavyweight champ in the UFC. And I remember
So
he
he
was
was
fighting
a boxer that went into, or a wrestler?
mixed martial artist. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and he was about to fight this guy Anthony Johnson, who I was a big fan of. And me just being an idiot, I just said, can't you guys settle this without violence? It's just a stupid thing like that. And Daniel Cormier ended up responding to it, and that was great. And the funniest one, there was another guy. I'm sorry if you and your audience aren't familiar with these fighters. I happen to be a fan, but
Oh no, Adam Hunter is a comedian, and
he does the roast. Yeah. There was a
No.
comedian, not a comedian, excuse me, a fighter, Tyron Woodley, who was a former welterweight champion. And at the time, he wasn't a champion yet, but he had a very small part in the movie Straight Outta Compton. He played sort of one of the guys in a crew, and there was a fight scene, and he got, like, I don't know if he got knocked out or something like that, and it was a movie. And I wrote something like, another thing so stupid. I was just like, if Tyron's performance in Straight Outta Compton teaches anything, he needs to work on his cardio. And cardio is something that he up until that time had been criticized for. This guy, I mean, the guy is a phenomenal fighter, and he wrote back, he responded to me, and then he responded with his own joke, and I was just like, it's just an honor that me being an idiot, I get to talk to you, and you're going to be the champ. I don't know if I told him he was going to be the champ one day, but
Wow.
so soon after that, he was the champ. So it's just fun I have no business talking to anybody, but here we have the tools that we can do it. We can inject ourselves into the lives of even those who have reached much bigger stages than us. And I guess in the end, it's sort of like, well, they're not that different.
Yeah.
If we're able to reach them, we're able to communicate. They're not that different.
Growing up Jewish, one of my favorite comedians of the younger famous Jews in my lifetime was David Brenner. He was at the tail end of the great Jews in comedy to me. And I was on Twitter, and he was there, and I was like, I would send him material. And I remember the first time I sent him a joke, you know what he wrote back?
What?
There's no punchline. So embarrassing.
And I mean, if you're going to get notes, if you can get notes from anybody, I mean, David Brenner's probably one. He passed away not too long ago, right?
He did. So yeah. Anyway, you've been so gracious to come on and let me interview you, and all the best in your future. And I'm going to get on, and you guys too. Let's get on We the Internet TV and check this guy out and everything that's going on there. Is it there YouTube stuff too?
Yep. Yep.
Did you say?
YouTube, we're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. If you don't catch our video on Facebook, it'll be there on YouTube for you to watch.
Perfect.
Cool.
Great. Thank you so much for the
Thank
interview.
you. Thank you.
And tell Andreas hello from me and your wife.
I will. Thank you so much.
What's your wife's first name?
Michelle.
Ah, what a gorgeous name. Thank you so much, Lou Perez. Thanks
right.
for letting people get to know you.
Right on. Thank you.
Bye.